Hello and welcome to the Real Talk podcast with Kelly and Avery. We're your hosts, Kelly Berger and Avery Roberts. We are two rare ladies living with congenital muscular dystrophy, CMD.
The show where we amplify voices, break down barriers, and celebrate the power of disability identity. Whether you're living with a disability, supporting someone who is, or just here to learn, you're in the right place.
Where wit, wisdom, and reels are all part of the party. So sit down with us. We're tearing down stereotypes, one reel at a time.
It's a front row seat to bold conversations and the thriving disabled lifestyle, and we're ready to get gloriously uncomfortable.
Let's get loud, proud, and empowered. Real power, real stories. We are joined today by the lovely Erin Hawley. She is also a affected individual living with CMD, and she is here to talk about disability in books. Erin, I will let you introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Erin. I am an editor, writer, reader. I work in marketing for Easter Seals, which is a big disability organization here in the U.S. And I am really excited to be here. I have, as Kelly mentioned, I have muscular dystrophy. I've had it my whole life. I also have anxiety, which I've probably had my whole life. And I'm really excited to be here to chat about my favorite thing, which is books.
Yes, we are so excited to chat with you about that. And yeah, so just go ahead and tell us how, because the narratives within disability books are so important and so influential. Can you discuss a little bit about what that means?
Sure. So I do a lot of work in reading spaces, specifically talking about like disability representation in literature. And I think it's really important to talk about because so often disability is not in the pages that we read, and it's not even on TV. It's not a public experience that is often portrayed. And if it is portrayed, it's not portrayed in a way that is authentic and respectful of our experiences. So I like to talk about books because I like to see myself in what I read, and it was my mission with my readathon that I run, which we'll get into that in a little bit, to really center authentic disability writing in literature and also in media as well.
Okay, I'd love for you to speak on, you kind of touched on this with the narratives, the different narratives that exist out there, as far as the narratives about disabled people, and then there's the narratives by disabled people. So can you kind of explain those two differentiates and why one is so much more important than the other?
Sure. So there's really no set way to write about disability. And I feel like if we say you have to write about it in this way, it really pigeonholes people and doesn't let them express their authentic experiences. So disabled people obviously can write about disability. And I think everyone should include it in their writing. But non-disabled people writing about disability should definitely hire sensitivity readers so they can help them in their writing to avoid any stereotypes, anything that isn't get to be ableist. And I think non-disabled people should write about disability, but to get it to be authentic, it has to have contributions from actual disabled people. And I think when non-disabled people write about disability, sometimes it can feel like we're just there for the diversity and not there because it's a story that they want to tell. And as a reader who is disabled, you can definitely tell the difference.
Yeah, you're so right. And it's the difference between narratives about disability that are usually written, from an outsider perspective, and then narratives by disabled people where we're not subjects, we're, protagonists. And like you're saying, we can bring our lived experience to it. So let's name some of those tired tropes that are very historical trends, in the literature world and the book world. What are the ones that make you want to close a book when you read it?
Yeah. Before we get into that, I do want to point out that I do think that sometimes even disabled people can get disability wrong, because not every disabled person has every disability. So I wanted to point that out. But also, on that topic that you just asked me about, I think that a big trope is that I am disabled and now I'm a villain because I want to get revenge because I'm disabled. That makes me so mad. It seems almost, even in popular media, in movies, TV, that is a big trope. And it really makes it seem like disability is so terrible that it makes you evil. And it makes you want to get revenge and just live your life in this ball of anger. And that's just not the case for most people. So that really makes me mad. And also the one where if you're disabled, this happens in fantasy, where you're disabled and suddenly you meet a magician or a fairy or somebody and they take your disability away. So now you're able-bodied. And it's like, that's not what everyone wants. And that is again portraying disability as something super negative that no one would want to have, rather than just a part of who somebody is.
Right. I think the one for me is the cure, like you're saying, as if we were cured and everything's fine and great in the world. And yeah, that's what irks me, I think.
Or the character that gets into an accident. That's usually how, a character who is a wheelchair user, or who, there's never someone who is disabled from the start. It's always something had to happen to get them disabled, or to paralyze them or whatever. And it's also the lens of pity as well, not only in books but also our entertainment industry and on stage and on screen and in the media. Yeah, it's just these ongoing trends, and we need to start to shift them powerfully. So I want to get into some of the books that do it right. So one we all love is Disability Visibility by Alice Wong. So Erin, I'm curious, do you have any favorites?
I have a lot of favorites. I actually just read a book by Nettie Okorafor called Death of the Author. And in that book, I'm going to give a little spoiler for the book, because I think it is pertinent to this conversation. The character in it is a wheelchair user, and it's a fantasy setting set in the future, and she is given mechanical legs that allow her to walk. And in this setting, the doctor who does this says to her, "This will help you live a normal life." And the character pushes back and says, "I'm still disabled. These are just my mobility aids." And in the book also, there's a lot of discussion about how we look at mobility aids as something that is like confining rather than freeing. So I think that is a really good book to get into. And also for nonfiction, I would also say The Anti-Ableist Manifesto by Tiffany Yu. I just read that and it's amazing and really important and a really good entryway for people who are not knowledgeable or experienced with disability and they want to try and learn more how to get involved, how to be an advocate.
So I'm curious, what's a story that kind of shaped, I know you kind of just mentioned this, that you saw yourself as a person living with a disability? Do you remember the first book that you read that really was just like, wow, this book is for me. I see myself in it.
Honestly, I've never, ever seen myself in a book. I've seen disability in books, but never somebody with high support needs who is a full-time wheelchair user that has nurses, that has a trach, that lives at home, that is in a relationship. Like, I've never seen that. And part of the reason I started the Disability Readathon is to center more voices by disabled people, but also to have, in a roundabout way, have other people help me find books that might bring me closer to what I'm looking for. Because I don't know every book that's out there, and there might be a book out there that feels like it's including me and representing me, but I haven't seen that yet.
Maybe inspired to write one, right?
Well,
Oh,
well,
teaser?
teaser, that might be happening soon-ish.
We're excited to hear that. Yes. I love that.
I can't give too much away.
You've also done some beautiful work around building community through books. Can you tell us about Erin's Library, the Disability Readathon, and the Moonlit Margins Book Society?
Sure. So sometimes I do too much, but I like to do a lot of
Don't we
different
all?
things. Yeah.
No, we love it. We're here for it.
Yeah. So first I have a YouTube channel called From Erin's Library, and it is a booktube channel where I talk about my favorite reads, what I'm interested to read, books that from different genres. I also post like travel videos where I visit bookstores or libraries. And I've had that channel for a while. And first it started off as like a general life blog channel, but now it's like centered on books because I realized I needed to have more focus. And obviously I'm going to focus on what I love. And then I have the Disability Readathon, which occurs every April, and it is a book challenge, I guess you could say, where everyone reads a book by disabled people. Sometimes we have different authors who collaborate with us. Like we just had the Anti-Ableist Manifesto. Tiffany Yu was on our videos. She did an interview with us, and we sent out signed copies of her book to participants. And you can find that every April on Instagram. So at Disability Readathon on Instagram or disabilityreadathon.com. And then I have the Moonlit Margins Book Society, which is my own very chill book club on Discord. And it's at my Discord channel. It's just every month we read a different book that is like you are a little bit different in some way. So like we'll read fantasy, sci-fi, historical fiction that might have a little odd slant to it. But yeah, and that is every month we read a different book. So I think that's a lot of stuff happening. I'm really excited.
Yeah, we will put all that in the show notes for people to check out for sure. So I'm curious, obviously you're a huge reader. What's like your vibe as far as when you open a book or do an audiobook? Where do you like to do it? Are you at a coffee shop? Are you somewhere local? Like, where do you like to dive into all of your books?
In my bedroom by myself. I'm not really a public reader because I'm not very public to begin with. I'm very much an introvert, and I'm most comfortable in my room or on vacation in a hotel room, again by myself, looking out over the ocean or in the forest or someplace that's very, chill. That's what I like to read.
That's definitely a book moment, I feel like. You gotta bring a book on vacation and when you're having those moments. So I get it.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, what do you see? So, thinking into the future of disability narratives and disability storytelling, what do you see or what would you want to see?
I would like to see more books being published by disabled people because we are seeing more and more, but it's still not enough. I think there was a statistic that was like, I'm gonna get it wrong, but it was something very like 10% or less than 10% of all books have a disabled person in it. And that's wild to me because over 1 in 4 Americans has a disability. That's the largest minority in the country. And it's wild to me that it's not seen not ever, but it's not seen that much.
Yes, you're absolutely correct in that. And yeah, it's wild that the stories aren't being told. So we hope that that narrative shifts and changes and we're included more. And hopefully with all your initiatives that you've got behind you, can help, with that movement. We appreciate that.
Erin, before we wrap up, we always end with this question. What's been your wheel moment? So maybe it was something that happened through your work with Erin's library, the readathon, or a time when you realized just how much storytelling could move people, or move you.
So I think there's a lot of different small moments that kind of lead up to where I am today. But I have to say, what made me love reading, is from my mother. Which, as a child, before I could read, she always read to us, and that really influenced me, and it gave me comfort, and it allowed me to feel like I can read too. And her love and her commitment to reading has definitely, obviously, influenced me so much, and also making sure that she like empowers me to be who I am and to not take any issues with anybody. And it just really, like, having strong women in my life has really impacted how I think of myself. Even because I didn't grow up around disability. I live in a small town. I was the only disabled person in school. I had a lot of friends, and I was very mainstreamed for most of my life, for all of my life. And so I didn't really understand disability, even though I am disabled, until I was an adult and I found the internet and I found other disabled people. But really, my mom, my grandmother, really instilled in me to love who I am, to be strong, and to follow my passions no matter what.
I love that. And thank you for reminding us how powerful storytelling can be. I feel like whether you're a reader, a writer, or just someone who wants to understand disability better, start with our stories, follow disabled creators, support their books, and challenge the narratives that we've all, inherited. So we'll link to everything in the show notes.
I know we said last question, I totally thought of one. And not to put in the spot, Erin, but so people that want to read more disabled books, where do you find them? I feel like that's always been a struggle. Where do you find out about them? How do you get them? Are they like friend of a friend things? Like, how do you access these books that you...
So, to be honest with you, I didn't really know myself, which is why I started the readathon. And to be a shameless plug-in, go to disabilityreadathon.com, and we have a whole list of books. And also you can go to goodreads.com. There's a tag, a disability tag, and you click on it, and it shows you a whole bunch of books that feature disability.
Really? Okay, that's helpful. Yeah, I feel like that's like, I would love to read more. I'm like, how do you search? I feel like you said, there's such a minimal amount out there, and I'm sure other readers, other listeners and allies want to, support and access that, but it's like, where do you start, or how do you find them? It's few and far between, so.
Yeah, totally. Like, just ask your friends. It's like being in community with other disabled people is life-changing, and it'll help you find a lot of different things, not just books, but life skills, companionship, understanding. That's all really important, and why community is so important to have.
Great. No, I appreciate that resource for sure. Hopefully that'll help a lot of people, and they'll seek that out, and they'll definitely look up your things that you're doing and be able to stumble upon their next read. So
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, and Erin, it was such a pleasure. We look forward to hearing and maybe seeing some books from you potentially in the future, and we'll look forward to following along with your journey.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this inclusive space where disability radiates and every listen helps amplify disabled voices that deserve to be heard. We're so grateful you're on this journey with us.
We share real stories, honest conversations, and expert insights that challenge misconceptions. Because disability doesn't define us, it's just a different way of experiencing the world.
Your support keeps this beautifully disabled, slightly chaotic show rolling.
You are truly the real MVPs. We have power, real stories.